She began as a teenage concubine in a palace where women were meant to be silent. No one expected her name to be remembered, let alone feared. Yet centuries later, history still debates her rise. They called her ruthless, manipulative, and dangerous. Court officials whispered that she ruled through poison and terror. But the truth is far more complex and far more unsettling. Wu Zetian did what no woman before her had ever done. She seized the dragon throne and ruled China as emperor. Not empress, not regent, but sovereign in her own name. Her path to power was paved with betrayal and blood. Rivals vanished, families fell, and the court trembled under her gaze. But that was not the worst part. Under her rule, China expanded, prospered, and stabilized. Merit replaced noble birth, and new voices rose through her reforms. How could a tyrant build such success? So who was Wu Zetian really? A cruel usurper who shattered tradition, or a brilliant ruler history could not forgive? To find the answer, we must step inside the palace where her rise began. To understand Wu Zetian, we must return to the heart of the Tang Dynasty. This was a golden age of wealth, poetry, and imperial confidence. Chang'an stood as the world's largest city, filled with scholars, merchants, and silent ambition. Power in the Tang court was absolute and unforgiving. Emperors ruled through ritual, lineage, and iron authority. Women were expected to obey, influence quietly, and disappear when no longer useful. Wu Zetian was born into a wealthy but unremarkable family. Her father supported education, giving her access to books and ideas most girls never touched. Even then, her intelligence set her apart. At 14, she entered the imperial palace as a low-ranking concubine. Surrounded by rivals, she learned quickly that survival demanded silence, patience, and perfect timing. One mistake meant exile or death. The palace was a world of shadows and whispered schemes. Alliances shifted daily, and favor could vanish overnight. Wu Zetian watched everything, storing knowledge like a hidden weapon. When Emperor Taizong died, tradition sealed her fate. She was sent to a convent, her life seemingly erased. But destiny was not finished with her. Emperor Gaozong, Taizong's son, remembered her. He brought her back into the palace, shocking the court. From that moment, suspicion followed her every step. The empress, already in power, saw a dangerous rival emerging. Court officials warned of chaos if traditions were broken. But Wu Zetian did not retreat. She understood the system better than those who defended it. Titles, ceremonies, and laws could be bent with precision. And slowly, the balance of power began to shift. This was no sudden takeover. It was a calculated ascent, shaped by patience and ambition. And soon the court would face a question it never imagined. Wu Zetian's return to the palace ignited quiet panic among the court elites. Every smile hid suspicion, and every gesture carried meaning. She moved carefully, knowing one wrong step could end everything. Emperor Gaozong favored her openly, and that alone made her dangerous. Officials whispered that she influenced decisions behind closed doors. But influence was only the beginning. The fall of the reigning empress changed everything. Accusations spread, loyalties shattered, and the court watched in silence. Wu Zetian emerged from the storm as empress consort, her power now undeniable. From that moment, resistance hardened against her. Senior ministers feared her intelligence and resolve. They expected obedience, but instead they faced authority. As Gaozong's health declined, the empire entered uncertain territory. Decisions slowed and factions fought for control. Wu Zetian stepped forward, not as a replacement, but as a necessity. She sat behind the screen during court sessions, listening and deciding. Edicts bore her will, even if her name remained hidden. No one dared challenge her openly. But that is when the real conflict began. Rival clans plotted her downfall, spreading rumors of cruelty and ambition. They underestimated her preparation. Wu Zetian responded with precision, not chaos. She promoted loyal officials, rewarded merit, and removed threats quietly. Each move tightened her grip on the state. Rebellions flared at the empire's edges, testing her authority. She crushed them swiftly, proving her control was more than symbolic. Soldiers followed orders without hesitation. Fear spread, but so did stability. Trade flourished, borders held, and administration strengthened. Yet critics asked a dangerous question. Was this success worth the cost? Or was China trading tradition for survival? The answer would soon shake the empire itself. The greatest shock came when Wu Zetian made her boldest move. She did not rule through a son or a puppet. She claimed the throne itself. In 690, she declared a new dynasty under her own name. The court froze in disbelief. No woman had ever crossed this line before. Officials debated in fear and secrecy. Some argued the heavens would never allow it. Others wondered if resisting her was already too late. Wu Zetian anticipated their doubts. She used symbols, omens, and carefully chosen proclamations to legitimize her rule. Even prophecy became a political weapon. Opposition did not vanish. It retreated underground. Assassination plots emerged, whispered in corridors and encoded in poetry. Trust became rare, even among allies. She responded by expanding surveillance and intelligence networks. Informants filled the palace and secrets surfaced daily. Paranoia ruled the air, but order remained. Executions followed, some justified, others deeply contested. Historians still argue where justice ended and fear began. But that's not the worst part. Despite the terror, her reforms transformed the empire. Civil service exams expanded, rewarding talent over noble blood. Commoners rose where aristocrats once ruled alone. Her rule posed an unsettling question. Could progress be born from ruthless control? Could stability demand fear? As enemies waited for collapse, the empire endured. Wu Zetian remained unmoved, watching patiently. But history was already sharpening its judgment. By the time Wu Zetian's rule neared its end, China had been fundamentally reshaped. The empire was more centralized, more disciplined, and more stable than when she began. Despite decades of fear and intrigue, the state still stood strong. Her most lasting achievement lay in administration. Wu Zetian expanded the civil service examination system, weakening hereditary aristocrats. Talent and education slowly replaced family name as paths to power. This shift changed the empire's future. Officials now owed loyalty to the throne, not ancient clans. The bureaucracy became more efficient, but also more dependent on imperial authority. Yet stability came at a heavy cost. Surveillance, secret police, and harsh punishments created an atmosphere of fear. Many officials served well, but slept uneasily each night. Historians still argue over her methods. Were her purges necessary to break entrenched elites or acts of personal paranoia? The line between reform and repression remains blurred. When illness weakened her grip, the court moved carefully. Allies turned cautious, enemies grew bolder. Even so, no sudden collapse followed her decline. In 705, she was forced to abdicate in favor of her son. The Tang Dynasty was restored, almost seamlessly. This alone revealed the strength of the system she built. Official histories written afterward judged her harshly. Confucian scholars condemned her ambition and cruelty. A woman emperor was easier to blame than to understand. But results tell another story. Borders were defended, rebellions contained, and governance improved. Few rulers delivered such consistency over so many turbulent years. Wu Zetian's reign exposed a difficult truth. Power does not always wear a moral face. Sometimes effectiveness and virtue move in opposite directions. Her legacy challenges simple judgment. She ruled with fear, but also with vision. And in doing so, she forced history to confront its own bias. Wu Zetian left this world as she entered it, surrounded by silence and judgment. Her name carried fear, admiration, and deep discomfort. Even in death, she refused to be easily defined. She broke rules no one believed could be broken. A woman claimed the highest throne and ruled an empire on her own terms. History struggled to forgive that audacity. Was she remembered as cruel because she ruled harshly, or because she ruled at all? Many emperors spilled blood, yet escaped the same condemnation. Her shadow feels heavier for reasons rarely spoken aloud. Wu Zetian proved that power reshapes history, but memory reshapes power. Those who win the future often lose control of their legacy. She became a warning more than a celebration. Her story leaves us with an uneasy question. Do we judge leaders by their methods, or by what they leave behind? And who decides which sins history chooses to remember? If you enjoyed this journey through history, Don't forget to subscribe to History Hub for more cinematic stories that challenge the past and its legends.